Hello, everyone, and welcome to Am I the Asshole Podcast. I'm Shannon D, and today I am joined by host of Chronically the Sickest, a podcast about, you guessed it, chronic sickness. She is shedding light on the daily struggles of living with lifelong illnesses. Please welcome Clark to the pod.
Hello.
Thank you for being here.
I'm very excited to be here.
Good, I'm glad. Well, you're also a listener, right?
Yes, I'm also a Patreon member.
Oh, you're a subscriber? Do you hear that, you guys? Wow. How long have you been listening?
Since 2021.
Okay,
so
nice.
For a little while.
Okay, so that was when Sarah was still the host.
Yes.
How'd you find it?
It was during the pandemic, so I was working a lot and I needed something to listen to during work.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I was just looking around on Spotify. I found it and was pumped, and I went through all of the episodes in the backlog, and so I had to become a Patreon member. So
I did that too.
Get more.
Yeah, when I first started listening, I think around that time too, I went back and listened to all of them. I think a lot of people do that because these stories are addicting.
Yes, they're very good. I have to say, this is one of the best AITA podcasts. I know there's a lot of them out there now, but this is still one of my favorites.
Oh, thank you. Well, first of all, congratulations on your 1 year anniversary. That's today, right?
Yeah, it's today.
I saw that. She posted on Instagram that you've been doing your podcast for 1 whole year. That's amazing.
It's very exciting.
Well, I love your voice also. It's like so soothing. When I've been listening to your podcast, I'm just like, oh, it's like the feeling that ASMR kind of gives you, you know? Do you like ASMR?
Yes, I love the ones where they like pretend to brush through someone's hair.
Oh, yeah. Like the role playing one where you're like at a salon.
Yeah.
Or they're like giving you a facial.
Yeah, I know. The little tappy taps.
Yeah. I always joke that we want to do an episode in ASMR one day, but...
Oh, that'd be so funny. People would be so mad, but I think that would be the
People
best.
would either love it or they would hate it.
Yes, but it would get lots of views either way.
Yeah, exactly. But it would be like probably only 20 seconds. Like more than half of the views would probably be only like a 20-second long marker. Yeah. But what got you into podcasting? What was the catalyst?
Well, I had a favorite chronic illness podcast. Oh, That's So Chronic. Mm-hmm. And one of my literal favorite podcasts. I have so many that I listen to, but I noticed that she had taken a break because she started going back to school. Mm-hmm. And that break was like a year or two ago. Yeah. And I was really frustrated because it was one of those spaces where I felt like I could learn, but I could also feel very seen. Right. And so I sat down and I was like, I bet you I could do this. And it was also a month or so after my hysterectomy surgery. So I was feeling really weird about being in my 20s and relating more to people who were maybe 45 or 50.
Right. Because then you're almost like you can't have children basically, right? Yeah. It's like you were in menopause. Do you have menopause symptoms though after that? Really?
Yeah, I have my HRT patches that I put on every week so that I don't get like hot flashes or arthritis. Like we're essentially just trying to delay all of the horrible symptoms, but I still get them. Like when I'm stressed, it's the worst.
But will that go away? Kind of like, you know how in menopause people then get past that? Or is that kind of like a lifelong thing that you'll have?
For now, I think we're trying to combat it. But yeah, at some point, I think I'm going to come off all of the things that I'm on and have it kind of be natural menopause. So in theory, it should kind of tamper out as
once you get to that age.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Like the actual age of menopause.
Yes, the real age, not my age.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how I started the podcast. And I did Chronically the Sickest because I always like to say that I'm chronically the sickest person, you know, and I thought it was funny because it was a pun.
Yeah,
and,
it's really cute.
Sunglasses emoji.
Yeah. I love that. Clark has something that she calls her big 3 and her little 3 diagnoses. Yeah. If you want to take them through that too.
Yeah, sure. So like Shannon said, I have my big 3 and my little 3. And of course, all chronic illnesses are chronic illnesses. They suck and they take over your life a lot of times. But I call them my big 3 and little 3 because my bigger ones are something I deal with every single day, and my little ones are more I can put them on the back burner, especially when I'm dealing with something else. So my big 3 diagnoses are endometriosis, fibromyalgia, and heart disease. And then my little 3 are IST, IBS, and migraines. So
yeah, when I heard you say, I was listening to your migraine one and you were like, it's my little one because I don't have to deal with that often, like once or twice a week. I was still just like, oh my God, still once or twice a week? Like that's still so much. And that's your little diagnosis. Like that's, oh, I just can't even imagine. With the big 3, are you in pain every day or it's just something you have to manage or like take a medicine every day?
I am in pain most of the time, but...
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I'm like smiling. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, why'd you ask? But I always like to talk about it because a lot of people with chronic illness or chronic pain in specific, they are asked a lot of the times by doctors or people, okay, on a scale from 1 to 10, where is your pain right now? But my 5 would be someone else's 8.
Totally.
Because I'm just at a baseline level of pain all the time.
Yeah.
Which is, it's honestly fine. Like I'm not necessarily taking anything right now for it.
Oh.
Okay. A lot of times for chronic pain.
But for like the pain management.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
For pain management, they'll put you on like anti-inflammatories, which can just kill your stomach if you take them too often, or they'll give you essentially like a fancy SSRI because a lot of times nerve pain is connected to the same part in your brain that's emotional.
Oh yeah.
So
you were saying that I think for the IBS, wasn't it?
Yeah, people go on SSRIs
like a serotonin thing.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah, you can have a serotonin I want to say deficiency in your gut and essentially,
wow,
that's IBS.
It's crazy how it's all connected. Well, that was actually another question that I was wanting to ask you is, are any of your illnesses a byproduct of another illness?
Yes, that is a really good question.
Oh, thank you.
I'm always so excited to talk about this stuff. It's so interesting.
Yeah.
But so ironically, it would be connected to one of my little diagnoses, which is IST, and that's inappropriate sinus tachycardia. I'm going to throw a lot of big words at people, but I'll explain.
Yeah.
But the umbrella diagnosis is called dysautonomia, and that's the dysregulation of your autonomic nervous system. And that's essentially your body's way of regulating temperature, blood pressure, sweating, tears, the things that your body does automatically. So I like to explain it like when someone reminds you that you blink or where your tongue is in your mouth. It's like your body's constantly in that state. So mine can't regulate my heart rate, my blood pressure, but that also goes into things like IBS, so it can't regulate your gut or sometimes nerve pain or tears. So,
and is it for a specific part of you?
For me, so I have inappropriate sinus tachycardia, so most of my symptoms revolve around my heart. So everyone else's heart is usually between 60 and 90 beats per minute when they are just hanging out, and maybe goes a little over 100 if you're running or like doing something crazy.
Right.
Mine normally sits at about 100 and usually goes much higher than that. So it's gotten up to 200 beats per minute while I was
just
reading.
Sitting there?
Yeah.
Were you reading like a hot novel? Is that why?
Yeah, surprise guys, it was like Bridgerton, but
a smut book.
I'm like, that's so crazy. Anyway, I'm like fanning myself. No, it was just like a normal book, and I literally looked down at my watch and was like, well, that's weird. And
yeah. And so a lot of your other ones stem from that then?
Yeah, they're very much connected to each other in the sense that my body is constantly dysregulated. Like it does not know how to do its normal functions. And all of my other diagnoses are, I think, connected to that one.
Oh, okay. And did you find out about that one earlier on, or was that like a later diagnosis?
Most of my diagnoses I got after I turned 18, but that one, like I used to pass out all the time when I was younger. Oh. But my family, a lot of them are anemic, so we all blamed it on that. I'm not anemic.
That's good. She's got one, you guys.
You guys, my iron levels are fine.
Perfect. So before you were 18, you were just kind of living in this land of just pain for a really long time, or were they kind of coming in waves at different points in your life?
I think that a lot of it flared up after puberty, so probably when I was like a teen.
Oh, okay.
But especially I have endometriosis, like I said, and that was like the worst, but it's normally just period pain, so people don't really get
so
that.
You were just thinking it was like really intense cramps.
Yeah, I thought I was passing out because of my period. I thought that I was just in pain because of that, and everything else was just my body was stressed out.
Mm-hmm. And didn't you also say that one took a really long time to even get diagnosed because people weren't believing you, essentially?
Yeah, endometriosis can only be diagnosed with a laparoscopic surgery. So I did not know until I was 20, a little after I was 20.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. So you were just every month just in excruciating pain, basically?
Yep, just having a jolly old time.
Woo! Don't you just love like how doctors don't take women seriously in their journeys? This happened to me. It was 2021. And I got the shot for COVID.
Yes.
And I was on a birth control at the time. And right after I got the shot, I had been on the birth control for I guess a year at that point. And then every month, I was getting my period twice. It was coming every 2 weeks. And so I go to the doctor, a male,
of course,
OBGYN. And I said, this started happening right after I got the Pfizer shot. And he was like, no, can't be that. Instead of like, maybe let me look into that. Or, oh, that's interesting timing. Like I'll ask other people, like I'll ask another doctor. Just immediately shut me down. And I was like, I don't know. It really does feel like that was what was happening. So then he had me switch birth controls. So I was like, okay, I switched. And it was a way worse birth control for me. Like I was like angry for months. And then I go back and I'm like, I'm still getting my period twice a month. Do we think I should just go off birth control? Like it's almost feeling like my body needs to self-regulate. No, that's not it. That's not it. Here, I'm going to give you some estrogen pills to like add on top of it to like balance you out that way. So I go to Walgreens, I pick it up. It's like $100. And like right as I get home, I'm like, I'm not doing this. This doesn't feel right. And so I just went off my birth control and then my body regulated again. And I did not go back to that OBGYN.
Good.
Because I'm like, he's not listening to me. And I really do feel like we know our own bodies better than anyone. And so what's your advice out there for people who are going to doctors, because you've had doctors not believe you as well and turn you away, where you can feel it in your body that something's not right? So how can you like stand up for yourself in those moments? Okay.
First of all, I want to say they did come out with studies that the COVID vaccine was affecting women's or people's menstrual cycles.
Yes.
So
yeah,
you weren't crazy.
Yeah.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, I did see that a few months later and I was like, here. And that's why it was just so frustrating to me, because I was like, the doctor couldn't even have been, like I said, I'll look into it or anything. And also, I don't even think that they not even test it on women either when they were doing it. That happens all the time.
They don't test anything on women.
Yeah.
Yeah. But sorry, to answer your question, 2 things that I always tell people and that I need to be better at as well is 1, get a symptom tracker app, literally any kind, but track your symptoms and like be able to say, hey, I wasn't experiencing this symptom at this time. I am experiencing it now, or it's getting worse, and be able to like print out something to be like, it's not just me telling you this. You have to look at this paperwork and see that I'm not crazy.
That's smart.
Because also then they can document it in your chart. They can like scan it in so that it's documented.
Right.
Or you can also bring a person with you. I know that's not always super accessible to everyone because you're going to the doctors and normally that's like 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. So you can't invite all of your friends to go for a little doctor party. But yeah, just bring someone that could be your mom, your partner, your friend, or even just have them on the phone.
That can like speak up for you, or...
Literally just having another person there I think having a man there weirdly helps, which makes sense after what we just talked about.
Yep.
But just having someone else there, because I know for me, I get a little bit anxious sometimes. And if they shut me down, my immediate response is to be like, oh, shoot, I guess you're right. You are a doctor.
Right.
But having someone else there to be like, hey, no, you were telling me that you were experiencing these symptoms.
Right. To be kind of like a third party that's there, an advocate in a way, especially when you are dealing with your own body. I feel like it can be vulnerable and you can kind of be like second guessing yourself. Maybe when they're outside of it could kind of not feel as personal, I guess.
Yeah, it makes you feel less crazy. And also it's like you said, it's not as personal when there's another person there. So the doctors aren't like, you're being anxious or hysterical, or are you really sure this is happening? Someone else can be there to be like, I am a third party and I am not emotional. I am here solely for this person. And I would like to say they're fine.
Yeah. Do you think some doctors will they act a different way when there's someone else in the room, do you think?
I have had it happen where when I bring my partner, who is a male presenting person, they will talk to him instead of me when they are talking about me and my symptoms. So I definitely think they treat you differently. I don't know if that's better or worse, but
wow. We are just living in the patriarchy still, aren't we? Gotta love it. Does any of this run in your family? Like, is this something that is genetic in any way?
My mom, I don't think she doesn't have anything.
Yeah.
My dad doesn't either. It's so interesting that I'm sitting here and being like, hey, I have all these things. And they're like, well, that can't be right. Like, we think you're just anemic, because that's really the only thing we can think of.
Yeah. Were your parents kind of like, oh, you're fine? Like, were they having that sort of attitude?
My parents had 4 kids and were very, very young when they had us. So I try not to fault them for...
Yeah, they did their best.
Yeah. If I had it my way, I wish I would have gone to the doctor sooner.
Yeah.
And gotten some more help for some of the stuff I was dealing with. I was able to do that for myself once I turned 18.
Right. Yeah, I get a little worried sometimes that I'm going to be a parent that's like that, because I'm such a procrastinator when it comes to my own health. My family, especially my mom's side, is very much like that. Like, you're fine. Their maiden name is Homan, and they always call it like homaning through everything. Like, you kind of just, you do it. And luckily my partner, Max, is like a lot more on top of that. So like when we have kids, I'm hoping that he's a little better about that. And I'm not just like, you're fine. But I think when it comes to my own kids, I'm probably going to be a little bit better than my own, like, my own stuff.
Sure.
Hopefully.
Well, and you, like you said, your partner is more on like the, okay, let's check this out. And if you're on the other end, then I feel like that's good. You're like in the middle of, okay, let's wait a second. And then the other one's going to be like, okay, we have now waited a second. Let's go deal with this.
Yeah. It's good to maybe have 2 people on both sides where it's not like, a Munchausen kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which, has anybody ever accused you of that?
Doctors, some new doctors, when they look at my medical history, will be like, are you sure that all of these things are actually happening?
Yeah.
But I don't think they've ever actually said, like, is this Munchausen's?
Yeah.
But like, my primary care doctor now is amazing.
Yeah, you're saying you love her, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah. If she was taking new patients, I would like plaster her name on everything I've ever done.
That's so nice.
But
well, that's good. And none of your family or friends have ever like accused you of that? At least to your face.
Yeah, I was gonna be like, I don't know if they would say it to me. What they say behind closed doors.
Yes.
I can imagine there are some things that are along those lines, but they have never said it to me, so I will say no. I think also sometimes I do it in my own head a little bit, where I go, if I'm having a good couple pain days, for a second there, my brain goes, you've actually made all of this up and you are perfectly fine.
Oh, really?
And there is nothing wrong.
Yeah.
And then I get a really bad flare and I go, oh my gosh, this is crazy. It's almost like I'm chronically ill.
Yeah.
Weird.
I've actually heard that a lot with people who are on antidepressants, is they'll get on the medication, like all of a sudden they'll be feeling great and they're like, wait a minute, I feel great. And then they go off of it. And then it's like a vicious cycle of like, oh, I'm doing fine. And then it's like, well, you're doing fine probably because you're on medication. So which one of your diagnoses is the hardest for you? Like if a genie could come down and grant you will take one away, which one would you pick?
That is a really good question.
Well, would it be the one that is kind of causing the other ones like we were talking about earlier?
I think ironically, no. I honestly think that my IST is something that I'm like, okay, I can be on medication for that. And I feel like it's easy to almost explain to my brain and my doctors and be like, this is what's happening. And I can be on medication.
Okay.
I would probably ask to not have endometriosis because I am now post-hysterectomy, and that is not a cure for endometriosis, in case anyone is wondering.
Oh, really?
So,
yeah, well, it doesn't. You still have it, but it's less painful?
Yeah. So I got a hysterectomy for a lot of reasons, but it was to help with my endometriosis and pelvic pain. But endometriosis is when endometrial tissue grows outside of the uterus, so it's been found in every single organ of the body.
Oh, okay.
And so I kind of explain it like a parasite. Mm-hmm. So if there's one little piece left over, it will regrow and it will keep spreading. So taking out my uterus helped a lot because they were able to, go around and take everything out. But I still have really bad pain from that, and it's frustrating now because I can't even be like, oh, I'm on my period. I'm not. Yeah. Oh. So
was the pain like only during your period, but prior?
It was outside of my period as well, but mainly
during your period.
Yeah.
But now you still have like the chronic every day, but it's just not the intense once monthly.
Yeah. I would be at like a 9 out of 10 on the pain scale before my hysterectomy.
Holy shit.
I would, I got erythema, which is where like you essentially just burn the capillaries on your skin because you're like heating pad didn't help me. It just was like a distraction. But like if a genie could take away like just to know that like I'm good, I feel like everything else I could deal with because even now I still feel a little bit uncomfy being like, yeah, does someone want to talk about like period pain and stuff like that? Because it's not very normal to talk about.
Okay. So yeah, it's like more uncomfortable for you to talk about it because it's like a woman's issue.
Yeah. And also it's not like I can just say, yeah, I'm on my period, because they're like, oh shoot, no, you don't do that, right? And I'm like, yeah. And they go, so what's going on? And I'm like, I couldn't tell you, bud.
Gotcha. And that's doctors saying that?
Doctors, friends.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if there's a genie out there looking to grant a wish, we've got one for you.
Yes.
Okay. Well, let's get into the episode. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. We're going to be doing situations about chronic illness, so we'll be discussing it more as well. And I think that your podcast is so great because it is normalizing, chronic pain, and as the other podcast was helping you, I'm sure you're helping a lot of people out there too feel not so alone in their journey.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Well, guys, give it a listen. Chronically the Sickest. And we'll post it in the show notes and everything. But you had an AITA that you brought in.
Yes, I did.
Okay, let's hear it.
AITA for bringing my mobility aid to a wedding. I, 23F, am chronically ill and have been diagnosed with multiple conditions that cause chronic pain and muscle weakness. Because of this, I use mobility aids. These aids can range from a cane to a wheelchair on really bad days. Despite knowing they'll help me live my life, I avoid using them because people are a little bit judgy. Recently, I was invited to my cousin's wedding, 25F, and on the day, I was feeling absolutely horrible, but I wanted to make it to the wedding because it was a once-in-a-lifetime event. I brought my cane with me just in case because I knew that if I didn't, I would end up staying home or leaving early. Turns out the venue was up 2 flights of stairs, so needless to say, the cane was a good idea. I was in a lot of pain after that, but I tried to stay in good spirits. And after the ceremony, I had a family member come up and pull me aside to tell me that I was drawing attention away from the bride and that I was being dramatic. So AITA for bringing my cane to a wedding.
No way. You're kidding.
No.
Being dramatic.
Yeah, which I genuinely, when I think about it, if it were someone else, I would be really mad. But for a second when they were talking to me, I genuinely was wondering. I was like, shoot, am I being an asshole right now?
Yeah.
Like, am I drawing attention away from them? So, AITA.
I mean, in what way were you drawing attention? Like you were just in pain and you had a cane.
Yeah.
That was it?
Yeah.
And because walking up the stairs was painful, right?
Yeah.
And is that a normal occurrence? Like every day walking upstairs is difficult for you?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And yeah, most places have elevators at this point. It must have been like an older venue, right?
Oh yeah, they were wooden stairs. So
okay. So like even worse. And in what way though were you like, just because you were in pain? Like were you crying? Were you were you throwing your hands in the air and screaming? Like in what possible way?
I know I wasn't doing a little jig with the cane, guys. Like I wasn't. I don't think that I was drawing attention, but I was still acting in good spirits. Like I feel like I was still going to the places, you know, like the reception and yeah, I wasn't.
So was
sobbing.
it just the fact that you had a cane?
I genuinely think it was the fact that I had a cane, and like it's not like it was glow in the dark or anything. There are cool ones like that, but it wasn't something that was like, look at me. And
you weren't like pouting or being like, why wasn't there an elevator? Like nothing.
Okay, I'm gonna be so for real. I did say that, but I did say it to my partner and very quietly because I was complaining.
Well, then who the hell cares? I mean, I would do that too, and you're allowed to complain to your partner. Like it would be one thing if you were going around to everyone,
sure,
or even like, you know, a quarter of the people and being like, can you believe it? Can you believe it? You know, and like making a stink, but. Or going up to the bride. Like if you were going over to the bride and you know, being like, why would you pick a venue where there wasn't an elevator? But who like it would was this like her mom?
No.
we can't say.
I will confirm nothing.
Yeah.
Because
we shan't give it away. I mean, I just don't understand how you could be the asshole here, how you could be drawing attention to yourself.
I don't think so, but I also think, I don't know, maybe I genuinely, being a young person with a cane was distracting.
Oh, okay. Like it was just like an odd thing to see. So then people were like wondering, oh, what's wrong with her?
Yeah, maybe.
That sounds like a them problem. It's not you.
Sure. Yes. I don't disagree.
Right? This is really annoying me. Like that's so rude. If anything, now you're making a big deal out of this. Like you meaning the BITCH who said something to you. Like I'm not the one that's doing anything. I'm living my life. I'm using an aid that helps me be able to be here at this wedding. Otherwise, I couldn't be here.
Honestly, I think it would have been weirdly more dramatic if I wasn't there because my entire family was there.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's less dramatic for me to show up and just use a cane.
Yeah. So it's basically like they wanted you to like just not be using a cane, like suck it up for one night, because was that their attitude?
Yeah. They're like, do you really need it?
Yeah.
Like, what if I would be like, no, this is actually all a sham and it is to draw attention away from the bride? Like, why would I do that?
Yeah. Though that's why I'm wondering if like, you know, when I was saying earlier about like the Munchausen thing where it seems like people do this a lot with other people where they think that they're doing it. And I mean, you know, you listen to the pod, so you know I used to have it as a kid, I think. When I...
Wait, oh yeah, you did that? Yes, you...
Yeah, I'd walk around with
crutches.
crutches.
Yeah.
and my grandma's wheelchair. I would go up and down like the block in it, but like no one thought that I was actually in a wheelchair. I was like 5, like I was like, well, maybe like 7
You're like
years old
speeding
or
down
something.
the street in a wheelchair, and they're like, that can't possibly be
That's
right.
like 6 sizes too big for me. But I definitely like had like a form of it as a kid. So I guess I'm out there giving people bad names, actually. I think I'm the asshole in this situation.
How did we get here?
But yeah, it's definitely a very unfair. Someone close to me, their family member has been in a chronic and like a mystery illness for years and years and years. And her family, who I know well, are oftentimes saying that they think it's just kind of in her head at this point. And it's just sad because it's like, why would she choose to have to be hooked up to IVs every day? Which, I mean, I guess there are people like that out there that do that.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like those few women out there who are lying about, you know, getting SA'd, and then they think every woman's lying about that, you know?
Right. Which is a super small percentage. I mean, even with, like you said, it's like people give you a bad rap, like handicap placards. Like people think that everyone's constantly misusing them and getting them for funsies. And I think they did a survey recently, I want to say in the 2020s, where only 10% of people were misusing placards. And so in my head, I'm like, I would just rather assume that you're using it for a good reason.
Exactly.
And if you aren't, you deal with that internally.
Yes. That's the same with unhoused people, where like all like give them money or little snacks I have in my car or something, and then I feel like a lot of people will be like, oh, well, you don't know, like they're probably just using that money for drugs, or they're probably just choosing to be on the street. And I'm like, well, I'm going to just assume that they do need it and they're not going to use it because then I'm not giving to the people who actually need it. If I'm going to just a blanket statement assume that every single one of them is using it for drugs.
Right.
Where it's like, let's just assume the best in everyone, because then if we don't, then we're never helping out anyone, or we're never believing anyone.
Yeah. Agreed.
So all of that to say, definitely NTA.
Oh, good.
For sure. I can't even imagine how, and we cover a million of these wedding stories, and people are just like crazy. There's something in the water, or the
white dress,
the white dress that leaks into your skin and makes you go a little cuckoo. Did the bride ever say anything to you?
No. Oh my gosh, the bride was busy doing bride things.
Okay.
She knew I was there because I RSVP'd. Yes. But I don't think she had any idea anything was happening.
Yeah, and she didn't care.
No, and I don't think she would have cared.
And never said anything to you after. And nobody else ever said anything to you after?
No, I hung out with her after the wedding. We're fine.
NTA. Well, thank you for sharing. So we're going to cover the little a-hole poll that I put up on Instagram.
Okay.
Do you tell people that they have something in their teeth when you're talking to them? And I took 2 different polls, so...
Okay.
So the first one is if they're a stranger. So say you're, at the grocery store line and the clerk has like a big wonkin' spinach in his tooth. Would you tell him?
Yeah.
You would?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Why would you?
That's a good person. I don't know if I would. I'm one of those people that it's like I get like embarrassed. Like I like will get like embarrassed about it, even though it is the right thing to do. Actually, I guess because the other poll I took was, do you tell them if you know them? And I actually think maybe it is more vulnerable to tell a person that you know, because then like you have an actual relationship with them. But it is definitely the right thing to do, is tell them.
Yes.
Well, let's see what everyone here said. So if you don't know them, so 59% said yes and 41% said no, that they wouldn't tell them if they didn't know them. And then what about if you do know them? 92% said yes and 8% said no.
Huh.
So I think that I definitely would tell a person if I know them, for sure. But I guess it kind of depends on how long my interaction is with the stranger. But I think it's good to tell them too, but I just always feel so awkward and uncomfortable with having to tell somebody that, regardless if I know them or not.
Yeah. I mean,
what
that makes
about
sense.
you? Are you just like, I don't care, I'm going to tell them? Or you just know it's the right thing to do?
Well, I try to use like the 2-second rule, where it's like, if they can fix it in 2 seconds, tell them.
Yes.
If it's longer than that,
Then don't say
that is a
anything.
friend thing for them to fix.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think specifically with something in your teeth, like you could be like, oh, hey, just like
Real
there's
quick.
something right there.
Yeah, do the little signal.
If you have to repeat yourself, then you run away. Like, I feel like that's
I
awkward.
know,
I can't. I'm like,
that's happened
no.
for too.
I don't know. You please don't make me
Or
do
it's
this.
like the timing of it, you know? Or like, what if it's like you're at a friend's wedding, speaking of weddings, and then it's like you're talking with like a new one of their friends or something.
Oh,
Because
that's
then it's
a
like
good point.
it's like someone you don't know, but you're just meeting them, and like it's not like, you know, a grocery store clerk where it's like, I could tell them, and you know, it's not awkward or anything, but
Yeah, I get you. Especially if it's like you said, like a first impression kind of. You're like, hi, nice to meet you.
you have, because then they'll be embarrassed.
Yeah, and you don't want them to like associate you with the embarrassment of that. Wait
Right.
20 minutes and then
Right.
tell
Wait
them.
a little bit. Well, because the other thing too with something in your tooth is that it could fall out on its own. So sometimes like I'll give it a little bit of time to see if like same thing with something on your face. Give it like a little second, see if they'll then end up grabbing their napkin. But if it's there for like a good amount of time, then I think it's like okay. Or if you're leaving the interaction and they're going to go out there in the world and potentially like embarrass themselves in front of somebody that like would be worse to have that in their teeth or on their face. You have to like, you have to leave your comfortability out of the equation and like do it for them.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I want someone to tell me that. What about bad breath though? I should do that as a poll next.
Oh, yeah, you should. Because I feel like that's a completely different, you can't fix that
You're
in
right,
2 seconds.
You can't unless you have a mint to offer them. That's what you can do. Pull it out, take one yourself, and then be like, oh, do you want one? That's the way. That's why you all just got to carry your mints. But I have had people be like, this one time this girl was doing my makeup and I did that trick because her breath was like right in my nose. And she was like, oh, why does my breath smell? And I was like, oh no, I was just seeing, like I should have told her yes, because I was there for like hours. It was like this intense makeup. So I should have just said, yeah, you could use it, but
I don't know why, but that feels like, what does Danny say? That feels like a character attack, even though I know it's not. Like I feel like my
more
like
personal.
Bad yeah.
Because it's your hygiene. It's not that like I was just eating a salad and I got something in my tooth.
Right. Because that doesn't say something about you as a person. You're just like, oh, it happens to everyone. Bad breath, you're like, are you okay?
Yeah. Do you have a chronic illness coming out of your stomach? Well,
I was even gonna be like, I was gonna be like gingivitis, halitosis, just anything with your teeth. I get it, but that's the worst.
Well, I'll do that poll next week then, see what everyone says. Okay, well, let's get into the episode. So thank you guys for listening. Please rate, review, subscribe, follow us on Patreon, patreon.com/AITA pod, and listen to us on Spotify. Second story of the day, AITA for telling my girlfriend her chronic illnesses are her own fault. But first, AITA for telling my daughter her disease is not an excuse to neglect her responsibilities. My daughter, 17F, got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes late April. Her diagnosis wasn't dramatic or anything. My stepsister has had it since she was a child, so when I noticed that my daughter was drinking a lot, I immediately brought her to the doctor, and here we are. I can honestly say we've adjusted pretty well. My daughter is old enough that she can handle most of it on her own. She is in therapy and a support group for teens with chronic illnesses. Ever since her diagnosis, she has completely stopped taking care of anything around the house. We have 2 bunnies and a German Shepherd that she and her siblings, 6 and 9, share the responsibilities. The animals are hers that she wanted and bought herself. Her siblings have had to step up a ton because she won't even feed the dog anymore. because they are so young, there are a lot of things that they cannot do physically. I am a single mother who has had to get a second job to pay for her insulin. Obviously, I don't hold that against her, but I don't have the time for the animals, not to mention her grades are all Fs now. The other day, I hit a breaking point and told her that if she doesn't start helping out, I will rehome the animals that her siblings can't handle. She had a total breakdown telling me I had no idea what she was going through and how hard it is. I told her it's not an excuse to completely neglect everything, and she had to get her shit together or the animals will be finding new homes. She ran out of the room crying and has spoken about 3 words to me since. I understand that this disease is a lot to handle and I'm trying to be as supportive as possible, but I don't know what to do anymore. My stepsister says I need to give her time to adjust, but I don't know if I can. AITA? Oh boy, we're getting into dicey territory here. Animals.
Yeah, yikes. First story.
I know. Animals can be a very touchy subject. So we did have a lot of differing opinions on this one in the comments.
Oh, okay.
But let's hear yours first.
Oh, no. I feel like at the beginning of the story, I was very much like, okay, I get where the mom is coming from. Like, this is a lot, being a single mother and with multiple kids. And then on top of that, yes, diabetes is specifically very expensive because of insulin. So of course you're like, come on, get it together.
And that's a daily thing.
I have a friend with type 1 diabetes. It's, oh my gosh, I don't know the specifics of it, but I know that they normally have like a pod on them that will just give them insulin as they need it.
Yes.
So I don't think they necessarily take it every day.
Oh, okay. But it is like, it's a port, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like it's like a sticky thing with a tiny needle, and they stick it onto them, and it'll.
Okay.
There's something that senses their blood sugar, and so when it gets high, I think they get insulin, and then when it's low, they need sugar. So they have like an apple juice.
Oh, okay. And it'll like alert them if it's the sugar's low.
They have like a tiny. I know my friend at least has like a tiny little. It looks like a phone, but it's just for their blood sugar.
Oh, okay.
So it'll alert
I have
them.
seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, still, I mean, it's a big life change. Like all of a sudden now you have to deal with this. Like before she was just living her life, being able to take care of her grades, take care of the animals. And now all of a sudden it's like coming to the reality that this is a complete lifestyle change for you for the rest of your life, basically.
Yeah.
Did you have things like this happen to you when you would get a new diagnoses? Yeah,
it's like all the stages of grief all over again, like every single day.
Really?
Yeah. And I can't imagine being young like her, like 17. I mean, I know you're almost an adult, but she's probably still in high school.
Oh yeah, it sounds like it.
That must be so stressful to have to not only almost explain it to yourself, but explain it to the people around you. Like, oh yeah, I went to the doctor and I have type 1 diabetes now. And
right.
Yeah.
And now, well, because I remember a friend of mine in elementary school found out she had it. And she had a whole setup that she had to have. Like, I don't think technology was as advanced where it was just like a, tiny little pod that you could put. Like, I remember her having like a pretty big piece of machinery. And it was definitely a thing. Like the elementary, like everyone in the elementary school like knew she had it. It was like something that it was like it almost felt like she was like wearing a scarlet letter now, where it was like now everyone knew about this. And because like schools are so small, and anything that's different is
you're the diabetes kid,
right? Exactly. So that's probably another thing that she's having to deal with is like how she's being perceived potentially, which is so unfair. And as adults, we know that there's nothing wrong with it. But when you're like a kid, anything that's different is just, you want to kind of blend in when you're in high school, I feel like.
Oh, especially in high school. Yeah. I mean, I know it's not like everyone's like pointing and laughing at you like in a movie, but it's way more subtle than that, but it still kind of feels like it.
Yeah, totally. And I think the other thing with her too is that it almost feels like she wasn't having all of these symptoms besides that she was drinking a lot of water. So, because I feel like maybe with yours, correct me if I'm wrong, that maybe in some cases, like getting a diagnosis was actually like helpful because you're like, okay, I've been dealing with this pain for so long. It's actually nice to find out the root of it. Was that the case with some of yours? Where with her, it seemed like nothing was wrong with her besides the fact that she was just drinking a lot of water. So there probably wasn't any of that feeling of like relief of like, oh my God, we finally figured it out.
Yeah. It's not like she was looking for the diagnosis and there wasn't like a huge catalyst, because some people with type 1 diabetes, it's like they go into like, what is that called? Ketosis. Like they like pass out or go into a coma because their sugar levels get too high. It's like it's a medical emergency. So it's not like she had like a moment where it's like, my life is changing. It was, like you said, she just was drinking some water and her mom was like, oh shoot, I know what this means.
Yeah, because she had the
which is great
history,
for mom,
right?
Yeah, to know and at least get on top of that. But for the daughter,
oh my gosh, I don't know how, if she didn't have that experience with her stepsister, like I would have never clocked that.
No,
it's like, oh, she's just thirsty. She's just been,
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, it's hot out.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I don't like the way that the mother is sort of like, it wasn't dramatic at all. Like, we had a comment here being like, her diagnosis wasn't really dramatic. She's quoting her, for who? She's 17 and her whole life is different now. She's a child. You're the parent. She's depressed because it sucks and she's struggling to adjust to a new reality. Consider the developmental stage of the 17-year-old. Your stepsister's experience is helpful, but she's had years and years to process this while your daughter is just 2 months in. So yeah, she's being a little bit like flippant about how quickly her daughter should be adjusting. And like, it wasn't dramatic. Who cares? She's just doing this now. Like whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
so I don't think that that's fair.
No, not at all. And I think it said it in the post, but her stepsister was like, give her time. Yeah. So even the person who she's referencing is agreeing with her daughter of like, yeah, it sucks.
Right. But to play the other side, Florida Ang says pets don't care if she's sick. They deserve to be taken care of. If for some reason they can't take care of the pets, then the pets need to be rehomed. People saying YTA are acting like OP's daughter was diagnosed with a life-ending disease. It's diabetes, completely treatable, and the daughter will be totally fine. Not an excuse to neglect animals. OP is definitely not the asshole here. And then someone said, if diabetes isn't taken care of, it is life-ending. OP NTA for saying she will rehome the animals, but she comes off as an asshole to seeming not to care about her kids' emotional and mental health. Do we think that jumping to rehoming them, though, is like the right way to go about it?
I think it is a bit dramatic. It's like we skipped a couple steps here.
Right.
Because I feel like it would have been nice for her to come to the daughter and be like, hey, I have noticed that the animals are not being taken care of. And I think she mentioned it. Like, I realize that you are going through a lot right now, but they need help. I feel like the next step should have been like, okay, let's start a game plan like that. Let's figure out what you feel okay enough to be doing right now. Like, I know you're struggling a lot. Can we get maybe like an automatic feeder or something like that? You're 17. You probably have a job. Can we, well, I don't know, but like, can we split?
Not right now.
Yeah.
Especially as the mom's getting a second job to pay for the insulin.
I was gonna say it's probably a lot.
Or like, maybe your younger siblings can take care of the bunnies, but can you like make sure when you're getting up in the morning and you're making yourself breakfast, like just remember to feed the dog, and then like maybe I could feed him when I get home from work. Like maybe try and meet her in the middle where it's not such a hard line of like, I'm not taking care of them, they're not my pets. Like maybe for this time being of how it's going to take her to adjust. Maybe, I know you're working 2 jobs now, but like step in for part of the responsibility. Try and have a little bit of empathy, I think, for your kid's situation.
Yeah. You are the adult in the situation, even if it's a sucky situation.
Yeah. See, this is why I don't think that people who don't want to have the responsibility of pets who agree to let other people in their household get pets, because you are going to have to take care of them at some point. Mm-hmm. Like I've had like family friends or something where it's like the husband like really didn't want a dog, but it was like, okay, if you want a dog, then you're the one that has gonna have to take care of it. Don't agree to that if you're not okay with, because you will have to take care of it at some point. It's living in your home. They are living in your home. So at some point, I just feel like if an animal's living in your home, you can't have a rule of I'm not going to take care of it in any sort of way. I mean, I guess if that really actually does work for you, then that's great. But I feel like you're going to have to let it out. I keep calling it a knit. Going to have to let them out at some point. At least feed them. I know people who have roommates who have animals, there are a lot of times they're like, yeah, it's kind of annoying now. I have to take care of it. I'm like, then you shouldn't have agreed to live with them, because I really do think that if an animal is in your home at some point, you are going to have to take care of the animal. Yeah.
Pets a lot of the time are a part of someone's family. So if you are living in that house, you are also a part of that family. So that pet is yours too.
Totally. That's why I'm almost like, in what scenario did the daughter, when did she buy all of these animals that you or
I know, like, she's 17, so mom said these are her animals that she got, and I'm like,
yeah, did you agree to it?
Yeah, I was like, she's still a minor, you were part of this.
Yeah, you're going to have to. I think that she does need to, there needs to be some sort of a compromise here, and I do think that she probably went to rehoming them because it was sort of like, I'm going to go to the most extreme so that you can really hear me and really get my point to step up. But it's almost like a tough love approach instead of like, when a negotiation tactic is like to offer like the worst thing so then you can meet in the middle. It's like, I wonder if she was kind of doing that, but it's like, well, when someone's dealing with mental health, like, I think you need to ease in a little bit.
Yeah, agreed.
So what do you think?
It's funny, my first reaction is I'm like, therapy? I feel like everyone, I know she said the daughter's going to therapy, but I think maybe both of them need to go together. Or
I know, it's just tough because it is expensive and it seems like they're already kind of at their
strapped for cash.
But maybe a mediator, maybe the stepsister could like step in and do a little mediation between them or something.
Ooh, I love that idea. That's a great
idea. Because you have the perspective of somebody who understands. And as you were saying earlier, a third party who isn't so emotionally invested. Mm-hmm. And then, maybe also sit down with the younger kids too and try and understand like what their ability with the animals are. Because also they would be devastated if the animals were taken away too. So you're punishing everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
And I'm wondering what the physical things that they can't do are. I guess it's like walking the German Shepherd, because the German Shepherd's probably pretty big.
I know. She said the ages were 6 and 9, right?
6 and 9.
I'm going to be so for real. I was very independent at 9.
I know,
so
9?
I have a hard time believing that.
You couldn't take the doggy for a walk?
I know. I'm thinking like, sure, maybe you don't want to have your kids walking them out like alone or something. Yeah. But you could also just be like, hey, 17-year-old, you supervise the walk.
Yeah, but again, I guess because it sounds like she doesn't want to do anything.
Which, fair, I guess. Yeah. But
because it seems like she's not even. I mean, also the grades, that's an issue too, and that doesn't solve that problem. The fact that she's. I mean,
and that would probably honestly make it worse if she got rid of the pets and her grades are already slipping. Yeah. I would just descend into chaos personally.
True. That's the other thing. Yeah, like you're taking away someone's emotional support. Even though maybe she's not caring for them, she's still probably, loving them and using them as like a way for joy.
Yeah.
But as a lot of the comments were saying, like, this is no excuse for neglect. You're neglecting animals. I get that. But at the same time, I think perhaps she is just expecting her family to step up for her. Like, I think if she lived alone with the pets, I can't imagine that she would just literally let her animals die. It doesn't sound like they're at risk of even starving in any way because they are getting taken care of. It's just everyone else is having to step up.
Yes.
And that's what family does for family.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think verdict wise?
I would say I don't like how extreme she went with rehoming. I think it could have been a better conversation. I mean, she did say the other day I hit my breaking point. So it does potentially sound like she has at least tried saying, hey, feed your animals. Like, I guess maybe it could be that. Like, it's not super loving the way she's approaching it, potentially.
Sure.
But I got to give her grace too, because she's a single mom, 3 kids of quite varying ages, working 2 jobs. Sounds like she hit her breaking point. Maybe no assholes here, or maybe soft YTA on her because we're giving her a little bit of grace. What do you think?
When you said no assholes here, I was like, oh shoot, I forgot that was an option, because I really was like, I think it's like a really soft YTA, but honestly, I feel like no assholes here is way more real, because I mean, I don't think the mom's being an asshole. I think she's a little insensitive, but
yeah,
she's trying her best.
Hitting the breaking point and getting upset with it. She's like neglecting everything, but maybe soft YTA.
Okay. I can do that.
Because like sometimes I try and think of it as like if they were reading our verdict, we don't want them to just be like, oh, you didn't do anything wrong. Like you kind of did a little something wrong by being a little bit too stern with her.
Okay. I like that.
Soft YTA. Okay. AITA for telling my girlfriend her chronic illnesses are her own fault. My girlfriend 20F and I 36M have been living together for about 6 months now. She has quite a lot of mental and physical health conditions. She has chronic migraines and hypermobile joints that are causing severe pain in her wrists, chronic kidney disease, and pernicious anemia, as well as depression. She's been struggling a lot over the past few weeks with a lot of headaches and pain in her wrists. But to me, she does absolutely nothing to help herself. She eats absolute junk, and when she is feeling okay, she does absolutely no exercise or anything to help her depression or headaches. She's so depressed, she hasn't even showered for maybe 2 weeks. The other night, I tried initiating a conversation about getting her back to feeling okay, and she got pissed at me, telling me I just don't understand how she feels. I replied telling her she does absolutely nothing to help herself, so it's her own fault. She feels like shit all the time. We ended in a massive argument, and she's been cooped up in the spare room ever since. AITA?
This is wild.
Well, first to start off, did you notice their age gap?
Literally, you said it, and I was like,
Now, I don't think that there's anything wrong with age gaps when you're a bit older.
Mm-hmm.
I do find it a little bit concerning when you're not even old enough to drink. She's 20.
Mm-hmm.
And he's nearly 40. He's 36.
Give it a couple more years and that could be her dad.
Yeah. I mean, well, technically it could be her dad.
True.
A young high school pregnancy. We have a comment here that says drops of liquid. It's even more than that if you look at her time being an adult. She's been an adult for 2 years and he's been one for 18 years. Age gaps aren't inherently asshole-ish though. YTA, because you're shaming her for being depressed. It's hard to take care for yourself when you're depressed. Offer help instead of shame. Mm. So yeah, thinking about the fact that she's barely an adult.
Yeah, and it sounds like they live together, right? So that's also another layer of, it's not like she has someplace else to go.
Right.
So,
of course. You can't be comfortable in your own home, living your truth of being in pain. If you have to put on like a fake brave face at home, there's no way that you'll be feeling good.
No, that'd probably make your depression worse.
To be like, worse.
Okay, so I have no place that I can be just a person.
Yeah.
I have to be on all the time. That's so frustrating.
In your own home, and the person who's supposed to be like a representation of your home too, that you should be able to go to.
I think it's so interesting. It said something in the post where, I say it said, he, again, what the heck, but he said that she wasn't exercising or doing anything to help her depression. And I know that for a lot of people with hypermobile joints, their joints will literally slip out of place doing normal daily tasks.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, it takes a lot more prep to do things like walking or exercising.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have to put on like a body braid or KT tape to make sure that their joints don't, fall out of place.
Right. Or like find a pool to exercise in, and that's not easy either.
Yeah. Yeah. Because aquatic PT or even just, a pool is great for someone who has chronic pain or hypomobile joints. But that doesn't sound like he offered, like that comment said, any solutions, just shame.
Solutions.
Just like get it together.
Yeah. Tough love again with the tough love.
Yes.
And I also feel like when you're depressed, it's not easy to even get your sneakers on to get up and do stuff that'll make you feel better. It's not that easy to just like, when you're depressed, you don't have the will to do a lot.
Yeah. And honestly, I mean, like I deal with depression as someone with chronic illness and also just a person.
Yeah.
But it's frustrating because, like you said, you don't have the energy to do anything, much less something you like, and then much less something that takes so much more energy, like going to the gym or getting up and going outside. Like you said, putting on your sneakers is so much work anyway. So why would I? What? Honestly, I'm sorry. I love the people who go on runs, but I can't imagine waking up and being like, I'm going to go get sweaty.
No.
That sounds good. No.
Yeah. I don't enjoy working out. I feel great after, but it sucks.
I mean, I get it. If you are a partner to someone who's chronically ill, you are taking on a lot more than like a normal partner would.
Totally.
So I'm sure it's really annoying probably to be like, dude, get out of your bed. You have not done the dishes in however long. You have not showered in however long. I love you. That's gross.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it is your partner, like you said, an extension of your home. If instead of shaming her or being like, you really need to get it together, I feel like you have to offer like a tradesy, like a little out of that vicious cycle and be like, okay, hey, I know that you really like doing this thing. What if we figure out a way to go do that thing so that we can get out of the house? Or
offer solutions. Like, maybe they could go on a hike together. Well, I guess with the
even just going outside.
Joints. Yeah, going for a walk.
Yeah.
Perhaps. Like offering solutions instead of berating. But I do also understand too, like, I think I actually like have a really hard time like seeing my, everyone does, but I think I don't react great when my loved ones are in pain or having issues. I think sometimes I choose to ignore the problem because I don't like want it to be real. Does that make sense? But then I'm not being a supportive partner or family member because I'm sort of like dismissing of it, I feel like, and it's like something I'm definitely working on. But so I could see me maybe like doing something like this where kind of get to the point where it's like, oh my God.
Well, when you're on the outside of it, you're like, okay, you're here and you want to get to point B, just go in a straight line. But this person is stuck in like a circle.
Yes.
Like with their weight or their mental health or their physical health. So it's not easy, but it's on the outside going, you could have been doing this so much easier.
Right.
And
yeah, it's seeing it from the outside. It does feel a lot easier to be judgmental. It's probably really hard to be around somebody that feels really bad all the time. I know my partner has to deal with that with me sometimes when I'm in my depressive states. Like, I think everyone is an empathetic person to some degree. So you are going to take that on.
Yeah.
So I can see from his perspective of how he's probably frustrated. Like you were saying, can see from the outside, these are such easy solutions. Maybe they need to start going to couples therapy or something.
Yeah, maybe.
Or she needs to start going to therapy, and then they could also do it together. How is your partner or partners in the past? Like, have you had any issues with things surrounding this?
Yes. I mean, me and my partner are married, so I've been with them for a while now.
Yeah.
But it definitely was something that we had to work through because, like, this partner in this AITA,
Yeah.
it was frustrating to constantly have it be on my mind and be like, I feel horrible. And they're like, cool. Like, I love you. And here are the solutions. Here is my love. I'm here to help. And still have me say, well, this still sucks. And I hate my body. And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
So we ended up going to couples therapy to kind of talk through and have a third party there to be like, okay, so you understand what they're saying. It's like, yes, I understand that this is hard for you. Okay. And do you understand that it's hard to live like this as well?
Right.
So I feel like this situation is so hard because I'm sure a lot of situations with chronic illness and family members are hard because you almost want to be like, I feel like no one's the asshole ever because you're both in a horrible situation.
A tricky situation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what was helpful for you, just for both of you being able to hear and see the other's perspective?
Yeah, I think it was also learning how to communicate more than just the surface level of what we were feeling. So I would sometimes come home and I would be having a really bad pain day and I would be just a monster. I would come in and be like just like if you breathe wrong, I'm going to lose it.
Yeah.
For no reason, but that I'm in pain. And so my partner would be like, hey, let me help you and all these things. And I'd be like, please, I can't have more stimuli outside of my body right now.
Right.
And so it was learning to just communicate and be like, hey, I am not angry because I'm angry. I'm angry because my body, and I'm really sad and really stressed out right now. And explaining my emotions and then being like, these are the things that I need from you. And on their side, being able to be like, hey, I can see that you are in pain right now. And I don't know if you want to talk about it, but I'm here.
Yes.
And yeah, I think a lot of it is communication and also understanding your partner. So I think weirdly enough, research on both sides to be like, how does it feel to be a partner to someone who is chronically ill?
Yeah.
And then on the other side, maybe perhaps this person in this story could research more about hypermobile joints and see, okay, I know that for me, working out helps me when I'm feeling sad. So he's probably like, yeah, go to the gym. And they're sitting there like, I can't do that. Right. So research, find something else, do aquatic therapy like you were saying.
Right. Yeah, come up with some other solutions instead of just like, well, this works for me because not every body is the same.
Yeah. Personally, I think it's a YTA.
Yes.
But I think it's just because I think the way he went about it was very insensitive and did not take into account literally any of the things that he listed before saying what he said.
You're saying she's the one that's causing all of these issues because she's not working out? Yeah, like maybe the working out will give her endorphins, but it could also flare up her hypomobile joints. Like it could be making all of her illnesses way worse than the little bit of endorphins that she would get from going for a run.
Yeah.
So you don't know what you're talking about. You need to do your research and stop giving
unsolicited advice.
So definitely YTA.
Yeah, I feel like the first situation I was like, okay, you know, both sides. Now I'm just like, nuh-uh.
Yeah.
That was not very nice.
YTA. All right, let's wrap this up. AITA for telling a guy with autism off because he wouldn't stop talking about something he knows nothing about. I, 29F, am 3 years into my PhD. I have published many papers and have been a co-author of even more. I've done field studies and teach at a university. I speak a few languages and teach a group of people outside of work. We meet up once a week and talk in that language. We are all friends. It's very casual. Last week, one group member asked if they could bring a mate of theirs, Carl, who's interested in the language too. She said that he is on the spectrum and that he might not know when to stop talking. I said, bring him along and we'll see how he fits in. The actual lesson went well. Usually some people stick around for a bit after and have a few drinks. As it turns out, Carl is interested in my field of study. He asked me some questions and I was happy to answer. But then it started getting weird. He kept arguing with me and correcting me, telling me what I apparently misunderstood and so on. It was quite awkward, and other friends tried to gently let him know that he was probably out of line. He kept asking me about my opinion on studies and papers, but in an aggressive, almost questioning way. The last straw was when he told me that I misinterpreted the findings of a specific study. I was sick of it and said, listen, buddy, I know you think that you know everything about this field, but if you had actually bothered to read who et al. Is, then you would know that I wrote this fucking paper, so please just shut up. Turns out the study he was referring to was one that I had co-authored. Not my proudest moment, I admit, but at this point, he had been trying to beat me for over 30 minutes. He left after that, but later messaged me that he'd informed my university of my discriminatory behavior towards people with autism. Now I'm wondering if I went too far. AITA? Clark's mouth is agape right now.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh my gosh. For the listeners, apologies.
Well, Clark has autism, right?
Yeah.
So I thought that this would be a good situation for her to weigh in on. And you were diagnosed when?
When I was 21.
Oh,
so
okay.
only a couple years ago.
A bit older too.
But
well, I remember because I listened to the episode where you were discussing it, and you were saying like you had a bit of social anxiety, and you were like, my cousins
were like on one side of the coin, like the worst in the sense that they were so mean because I did not understand why I was acting the way I was. Mm-hmm. And then on the other hand, I didn't have that many friends, so they were like a great way to study how to be a person.
Oh.
So
in a good way, or there were...
I think it helped. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I think I learned a lot from them. Like I understood what people my age were doing in like a normal context.
Yes.
So I was like, okay, we like One Direction. We wear these types of clothes.
Yeah.
I found out we were not supposed to be wearing all the same color. When people told me that their clothes were supposed to match, I thought they meant like it had to be all the same color.
Oh.
And so
monochromatic, although that's very in now.
It is. See, little
you
me
would have been. You were just ahead of your time.
Yes. But yeah, I think the situation is very interesting.
Because I know. I'm not really sure how to read it. I know that a lot of people with autism have a very strong sense of justice. And so when they believe that they are right, they believe that they're right. Okay. That makes sense.
And it's like, what it sounds like in this situation is, I'm going to be right whether or not I'm right. And
right.
Yes, correct. Yes. See? But I think that can be very frustrating because a lot of times I think when people know that you have autism, they will treat you a little bit differently. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that can go either way, but a lot of times I think for this guy, maybe in particular, Carl, great name.
Yeah.
But I think Carl may be used to when people are arguing with him, I think they will secede.
Oh,
they will.
Because they just don't want to get into it.
Yeah. They're like, and you know what, Carl? You're right.
Yeah.
You're totally right. Why don't we talk about something else? Whereas this person is being like, hey, no, I am this is my field of study. Mm-hmm. I wrote that paper.
Right.
So yeah, I'm right. And I think the level of emotion also on both sides was probably running very high of, no, I wrote that paper, and no, this is my special interest. Fight me on it right now. Mm-hmm. So
do you think people let him get his way because they know he has autism, or just because of how passionately he wants to win? I
think it's probably a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I think if someone didn't know that he had autism, I think
they would just be like, okay, you're coming in a little hot here and I don't care that much.
Yeah, he's like citing research papers and you're like, dude, I just watched one 60-minute episode on this. Like, it's fine. You can win.
Right. I'm not that invested.
No.
But then I guess then if they do know, they're probably like a little closer with him. So they know like, oh, this is just how he is. Like he loves to debate.
Yeah.
And he likes to be right. So if I don't have a lot of skin in the game, like, why don't I just end the tell him he's right and then end the convo here?
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
I mean, at least that's what I see a lot of times with maybe friends who have autism or even me. I try to feel like my family is a little, we all have autism. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. Sorry, Dad.
Your siblings too? Mm-hmm. Were you the first to get diagnosed then? And then it was kind of like, maybe let's look at everyone now?
Yeah. My mom actually got diagnosed because of me. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh. But so we are all very headstrong and we all believe that we are right, but we are also weirdly very mean to each other because none of us follow any of the social rules of like gently being like, fine, like whatever, maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong. No, we're all like, that was stupid.
Yeah.
What you said, I've decided.
Yeah.
And so I have seen it a lot of times where it's very much like, fine, you know what, whatever. Like if you want to win, you want to win. Yeah. Whatever.
But then it's like but then you guys have the understanding that that's just how you guys are. Like, and then you're not taking it personally, right?
Yeah. Which I assume is how other people react to someone who's arguing with them who maybe this is their special interest and this is very important to them.
Yes.
What do you think though? I mean, I know you're coming at this from a different perspective, but.
Yeah. Well, I think I just told this story like last week or something where I was getting into an argument with a person who was really mansplaining the industry to me. I just felt like he was not taking into account and respecting the fact that I knew more than what this one article he wrote was, because I've been doing it for a decade now. And it was frustrating to me because this was my field. And so I definitely can relate with OP in this way. I don't think I would have ever snapped and told him to shut up. So I don't like her reaction. However, I do think it's a little bit overboard with now that he's going to reach out to her university.
That was why my mouth was agape.
On the ground. Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, all right.
Yes.
We are jumping there.
Here's one that says NTA, a comment. He's using autism as a shield against his own behavior. Seems like he's weaponizing it.
I can see that a little bit. Perhaps I am not the person who should be saying this, but I have some friends who were diagnosed with autism when they were younger. Mm-hmm. And then I have some friends with Down syndrome. And I think that when you're diagnosed with something like that when you're younger, you do get coddled a little bit more, which I guess makes sense because your brain is different and the people around you want to make sure that they are catering to that.
Right.
But I think that also means that they do grow up with this mindset of I can do whatever I want. And if I play this card, you are the bad guy, is what I've understood from my life experience.
Okay. Interesting.
And I think that there are some times where you can absolutely be like, hey, this is because of my autism. And if people are reacting poorly to that, you're like, I don't think you understand how this works.
Yeah.
But I think the way that Carl reacted in this situation was, like that comment said, I think weaponizing it a little bit, or at least taking it too far, because perhaps he had an experience in the past where someone genuinely was discriminating against him because he was autistic.
Yeah.
And so maybe his emotions are running high and his automatic reaction is, it's because they hate me because I'm autistic and they just don't like me.
Right.
When in reality, she was just like checking him aggressively.
Yes.
But
yes,
checking him.
Right. And like you were saying earlier, is like he's probably not used to not getting his way.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, like, do you think that he's probably not understanding until she flipped out on him that he was going overboard? Like, do you think he's understanding that he's like mansplaining to her in any way?
I think at the beginning of it, I think he thought that they were having a nice debate. I think once, I don't know about him, but when I see that people are trying to redirect me, I don't know exactly what's wrong, but I know that something is wrong. And so I will be like, oh, I am doing something wrong. I will step back and usually ask a trusted person later and be like, what did I do wrong in that social situation that you had to fix it? So I think once his friends were like, okay, like Carl, like let's be done. Like, why don't we talk about something else? I think that's when he should have at least noticed that other people were trying to, which I get it. Some people, I think autism is a spectrum, obviously, but so social skills are kind of across the board, but to have someone be like, hey, like, why don't we move the topic away and have him still keep going? Like that should have been like you like at that point, I think, but I think they were both very emotional in that situation to have him be like, I am right, and have her be like, this is stupid is what this is. See, I think this happens actually a lot with AITA situations, is the other person is the villain until you out villain them at the end, and then then you are in the wrong. Yes. So I think that is the situation here.
Kept her mouth shut.
Well, no, I think that if he didn't report her to the university, I think he could have been like, she told me to shut the fuck up, and it was horrible, and she didn't understand where I was coming from. Yeah. But instead it's, and then I reported her to the university, and everyone's like, well, hey, Carl, let's not, which I don't know, which also, yes, maybe she should, I don't think she should have done that, but
I love that expression, out villain the villain.
Like, so at the end you're like, oh no, you messed up, man. You could have been NTA, and you
could have been the victim.
Yes. Yeah.
And now you're not. But I also do think that you could say the same thing about her too.
Oh, absolutely.
That she could have been the victim of a man kind of berating her a little bit about her own field, but then she said, shut up. And then it's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
But I still think there maybe is a few people that would be on her side of like, yeah, that sucks. But I think, I don't know. I can see people being split down the middle of this one. I think for the most part, people did say NTA though, because he out-villained her. This was the comment I was looking for. Ooh. It's funny how he doesn't get, quote, social cues in this scenario when it's convenient for him, i.e. he keeps going on and on, condescending to OP even when advised to stop. As soon as someone calls him out and embarrasses him for being wrong, then he suddenly understands social cues and how he can use discrimination in a social or work setting in order to punish her. What do you think about that?
Yeah. I think it is more of the punishment did not fit the crime.
Yeah, the rest of the comment, he says, unfortunately, some people on the spectrum are taught I can get away with doing and saying what I want by their parents or others who love to use the disorder as an excuse. That's how it is with most assholes, whether they are on the spectrum or not. It's learned from your environment. That's a possible reason for why a guy who doesn't know when to stop being condescending knows he can get someone in trouble if he levies a threat of discrimination against them.
Yeah, I like that.
Maybe we go ESH. I don't know.
I feel like I was ESH like after like a second of thinking through this.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I think
because she sucks for exploding, because I do think that she should have taken into consideration that he had autism.
Yes.
It's not like she was arguing with somebody who was just simply an asshole guy. She was told ahead of time.
Yes.
This man has this man is on the spectrum and he might not know when to stop talking.
Yeah, specifically that last part.
She was warned of that. And so this is someone that's in your, basically one of your students. I mean, you say that it's a group of you that get together, a group of people. Doesn't even sound like it's necessarily, she said we're all friends and it's very casual, but it's regardless, it's someone in your life's friend or coworker, whatever. So I think you should always be a little bit more conscious when it's one of your friends, not like you randomly met this guy at a bar and he's talking shit to you. Then say whatever you want to him.
You're never going to see him again.
Yeah. If he's just an asshole guy, you're not aware he's on the spectrum. This is your friend's friend who warned you that he has these issues. And yet you still let yourself get worked up into a frenzy to the point where you berated him or told him to shut up. And then, yes, I can't give him a pass that, that's not okay to then go and tell the university. Like, maybe you could solve it amongst friends.
Yeah. See, if he had written the AITA post,
yes,
perhaps he could have had people on his side.
I know. We need both sides. Right in.
Right in, Carl.
So I think we're saying ESH.
Yes,
Everyone
agreed.
sucks. They're out villaining each other. Boom,
yes.
Boom, boom.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me. Sorry, this was a very long episode. We're going to do a bonus next, so we'll keep that one a little shorter.
Okay.
But thank you guys so much. And follow Chronically the Sickest Podcast on Instagram. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
The handle. And give it a listen. She has guests as well that come on and talk about their chronic illnesses too.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.